Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I think Boppy can't make it today. He mentioned a couple topics that I was aware of, but we'll just maybe hang out another minute or two, and then we can start and or wrap it up early today. We'll start momentarily. Okay. So Bobby has a dentist appointment or something today, so he won't be able to make it. Um, from my understanding with him, I think the primary topic that we were going to cover in this meeting was potentially a discussion about security. Um, I unfortunately didn't know a whole lot more context beyond that. I don't know if maybe Ram or Andrew or anybody else. Uh, did you guys have either any thoughts on that or some more sort of context on the direction of the discussion?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, no worries. I mean, I suspect, at least from what I recall, there was some discussion about, hey, do we try and include security inside of sort of the die-to-die subsystem itself, as an explicit thing with its own set of mechanisms, or do we just sort of say, hey, look, like there's higher level security mechanisms that the SoC and or chiplet and or systems are going to need to be implementing kind of independently of whatever the die-to-die is doing, and it may make sense to leverage those, and or rely on those, I guess I should say. I guess one can probably guess, sort of where my personal, sort of opinion lies. But yeah, if there's thoughts or comments or other directions people want to go, I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, I think it's it's a big topic where we could easily be um,
Land in
by
many rabbit
specify
holes.
yeah by specifying something we could actually cause more trouble than we help.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I guess Andrew, I have no idea. I certainly am not an expert in security things by any remote stretch of imagination.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody here has any more familiarity than I do, but yeah, my impression is similar to yours of, yeah, like if we put something in, we could just make life worse, and it may be better to just say, look, like that explicitly needs to be handled by mechanisms out, that are bolted on top of this, so to speak. And in Rom, it sounded like maybe you had some either experience or commentary there too.
Right. I mean, I had some security background in one of my previous experiences. So, I mean, my take on this is like, again, I kind of agree with you on the fact that it's very hard to say something from a spec perspective, because, I mean, there are security implementations that are proprietary. And say if somebody wants to go for a certification of sorts, then it becomes even more difficult if some known security algorithms get implemented. So sometimes there are some restrictions for certification as well. And then yeah, I mean there are I think many variants of how security can be implemented out there. So I don't know if we can address at least like 50% of them. So yeah, my take is still we leave the security to the application layer, meaning we specify in the spec on when we call the data link layer as up. And then there could be something in addition to that running on the application layer that brings up a secure link before any mission mode traffic can go through. I think that is probably the simplest implementation. But
Okay,
again,
got it.
yeah, I don't know what UCI is doing. I don't know if that's where we are coming from. So if that is the need of the hour, then yeah, we can definitely add something to the spec. But yeah, I think we'll probably this is a very broad topic, so it's yeah we
Yeah,
need
no, for
more.
sure. I mean, I think maybe the only, I don't know, question or whatever is, do we think is there any like definition of either sideband messages or like a main band stream or anything like that we think we need to sort of add in just as like, hey, if you're going to do security, here's a generic way to carry it, or we think in general, basically the link layer can just be built as if it's interfacing directly to the system bus, and then somebody wants to do some security thing, they basically put this in between the system bus and the data dies. Does that make sense, or?
yeah, I didn't follow that.
basically what I'm trying to ask is there any sort of generic facility we need to define, not necessarily in terms of how the security itself is performed, but more just sort of something that's kind of inside of the guts of the Lincoln transaction layer? Or can we just rely on saying, well, the Lincoln transaction layer boundary is always some on-die bus, whether it's AXI or CHI or whatever it is, and the security mechanism is just sort of built in a way that it sort of already interfaces at that bus level, and you just sort of acts as another intermediary before things can really get back out or in, as the case may be.
Right. So it's just part of the protocol that runs at the transaction layer or above.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was asking is, do we think is that sort of a viable way of doing it, or is there something that actually needs to be sort of more intimately in the guts of the Lincoln transaction layer? Ram, since it sounds like you might be the most. Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just saying I don't know. I was
Yeah.
His best.
Ram, you there?
Yes. What's the question?
So the question was basically, and this is partially conceptual, but it might imply things that we would actually do from a security perspective. Is there any facility that might need to be defined that sort of would sit conceptually inside the Lincoln transaction layer, or do we think that sort of it can always be defined in a way that Lincoln transaction layer just it just produces bus interface inputs and outputs, and then there's some other entity outside that is just sort of sitting in between that then takes the further step of making that part of things actually secure.
Right. So I would recommend the second option that you mentioned, where the link and the transaction layer merely transmit data.
Okay.
And then to make that data secure, there is a security layer that sits, like you said, between the system bus and the D2D link layer. That basically, once the link layer is up, then the security layer can do its negotiation with the partner security layer and make sure that it is talking to the right chip, or if it wants to do any encryption, if it wants to encrypt the mission mode data or obfuscate the mission mode data, it can set all its keys and whatnot, and then finally say, okay, my secure DL is up, and then you can start mission mode traffic. So yeah, I mean, from a BIOS standard perspective, I would probably recommend not to add any other security related details, because that is more of an application layer implementation.
Okay.
But
Yep,
again,
sounds good to me.
There is, I mean, if there is a need to do that, then we probably need a broader forum to discuss this.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I guess just to clarify, I think the primary question I was trying to ask was, do we believe there's any technical limitation introduced by? I think the implication of this is that there's sort of this boundary line that we've drawn of a die-to-die subsystem, that sort of, and just for sake of argument, let's assume it's AXI, although I don't know if that's the right example, but sort of like there'd be like an AXI bus, sort of going in and out of the die-to-die subsystem, and so the security thing would be essentially interacting with the security thing on the other side over the AXI bus conceptually. Does that make sense? Or
I mean, the security layer can be directly interacting via D2D as well, but I mean, the negotiations would happen outside of the BAU spec is what I meant.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess that's sort of the, how should I say this? I conceptually, I definitely don't want to put mechanisms whatnot inside of the die-to-die. The only sort of conceptual thing that I wasn't sure about was do we need to either define or just state, hey, like a security implementation may turn out to have its own separately defined stream with its own direct interface into the die-to-die, and then some implications about sort of interlock between that and sort of other streams being enabled. That was kind of the like, I can see how that would work. Obviously it wouldn't have really a whole lot of detail in it, at least conceptually, I could sort of see how that facility would make sure everything's fine. Whereas if we do say something like that, it's not that, that might also work fine. I just don't know. It just does imply that the security stuff would have to interface into the die-to-die, purely over some, sort of otherwise available die-to-die interface, if that makes sense. Yes, did that make sense, or did I lose you?
Sorry, I was on mute. So yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Got it. Yeah. So it sounds like your thinking is, yeah, no, like it's okay if it just speaks over AXI or whatever it is. That's fine.
So when you say AXI, are you're referring to just the system bus, right? The security block on the other side can be communicated via D2D. Is that what you meant by
Yeah.
AXI?
Sorry. I guess basically what I'm attempting to say is that if the boundary, well, okay, what I'm saying is not strictly correct, but I'll play out an example scenario just for sake of clarifying the question. So an example scenario may be that somebody sort of, takes the spec as it is, and from whatever reason, or not just from whatever, like, so, and commonly there'd be a specific system bus that that they want to interface into, and since the spec doesn't necessarily say otherwise, they would just implement sort of an AXI interface into the die-to-die, and there wouldn't necessarily be any other ports or streams or whatever going into the link layer besides just that AXI, that AXI side of it. So the implementation
Correct.
or yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, and what you mean is basically the security implementation is already handled when the AXI bus comes into the D2D system, right?
Yeah, so basically once the D2D comes up, it's just handed something that says, okay, yeah, I'm, here, just you look like a tap off an AXI bus, and that's that.
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah. That aligns with what I was saying before.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So I'll tell Boppy that the decision was we don't think we should do anything.
So do others agree, or there is some disagreement there?
I certainly
I
do.
wanted to.
I mean,
I want to make
yeah,
sure
no,
that
I
others
agree.
agree too.
Yeah, as I said, I think the only question that in my mind at least, which again, just my opinion is yeah, I could see that we would just define, hey, if you want to build security, there's a security stream, and that may have implications on sort of what other streams are doing, but yeah, but if we really can just say no, it's outside, that's much cleaner. Yeah, if I guess Andrew, I think we know your opinion as well, and I'm sorry I'm in the car, so I don't see who else is on. But if anyone else on has any thoughts, please do feel free. Okay, I
So,
think we'll.
yeah.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
No, that's right. I was just saying there's Jerry and there's Boone here on as well. So if they want to.
I don't have any opinions. I think we should leave it outside of the link layer.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I think there's another vote for do nothing.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll take that as enough enough consensus that I think we're good for now, and obviously we can always revisit, especially if there's folks that have more deeper sort of ties or expertise in that space. Okay.
Okay.
I think we can call it a day. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Yeah.